Jai Hind and welcome to Team MND The Futurist, and today's update is on: in a world where geopolitical dominance was once dictated by military might or even resource control, we are now entering an age where demand side power rewrites the rule. Now, as the heart of this evolution is India, no longer a passive player but the most coveted customer in this global trade narrative. As China and the United States lock horns in an economic tug of war, India's market of 1.4 billion consumers, rising tech infrastructure, and strategic alignment choices give it unprecedented leverage. The customer is no longer peripheral to geopolitics, the customer itself is now the geopolitics. I'll take you through this interesting story, but before that, do subscribe to our channel. Now, the United States China trade war, which intensified during Donald Trump's presidency, has reshaped this entire global trade dynamics, with India emerging as a key player due to its large market and strategic position. As both superpowers vie for economic dominance, India, as a major customer, holds significant influence in the geopolitical landscape. Now, this analysis will explore how India navigates the trade war, leveraging its position as a consumer market. Now, let's first understand the background of this United States and China trade war. The trade war began in 2018 when the United States under Trump imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, accusing China of unfair trade practices like intellectual property theft and market distortions. Now, China retaliated with tariffs on United States products, escalating tensions. By 2025, the conflict has deepened. United States tariff, when we talk about, the country has imposed tariffs as high as 145% on Chinese goods, targeting electronics, steel, and more. Trump's second term starting 2025 proposes 10 to 20% tariffs on all imports and up to 60% on Chinese goods. What is the Chinese response? Now, China has retaliated with tariffs up to 84% on US agriculture, energy, and even on machinery. Now, when we see the global impact, the trade war has disrupted the entire supply chains, increased cost for consumers, and even caused market volatility. For example, global stock market like Hang Seng 1 to minus 13%, Sensex and minus 3% saw sharp decline in April 2025 due to this tariff announcements. Now, the trade war is not just about economics, it is a geopolitical struggle for technological and even the military dominance. The US aims to curb China's rise, particularly in the high tech sectors like semiconductors and artificial intelligence, while China pushes for the self reliance, though initiatives like Make in China 2025. Now, second pointer is India as the center customer. Now, India with a population of over 1.4 billion and a growing economy is a massive consumer market. Its role as a customer gives it a leverage in the United States-China trade war. Let's understand why. It's a large market. India is the world's fastest growing major economy with a GDP growth rate of around 6 to 7% annually. Its demand for goods like electronics, automobiles, and energy market is it attractive to both the United States and even to the China. Now, its strategic position, India's non-aligned foreign policy and participation in groups like BRICS and Quad with the United States, Japan, and Australia allows it to balance the relations with both the powers. Now, certainly the supply chain shift as an important variable as United States and Western companies reduce dependence on China, a process called de-risking. India is emerging as an alternative manufacturing hub, especially for tech and even for the pharmaceuticals. Now, India's role as a customer means both the United States and China want access to its market, giving India a bargaining power to negotiate better trade terms, attract investments, and boost its industries. Now, the third pointer here is how India benefits as a customer. India's position in the trade war creates opportunities across multiple diversified sectors. First is attracting investment. United States companies, American firms like Apple and Tesla are shifting production to India to avoid tariffs on Chinese goods. For example, Apple's iPhone manufacturing in India has grown with exports reaching 12 billion in 2023 to 2024. Then when we talk about the Chinese investments, despite border tensions, China again remains India's top trading partner with $118.4 billion in trade in 2023 to 2024. Now, Chinese firms are again investing in Indian manufacturing and even renewable to access its market. Now, FDI certainly inflows. India's foreign direct investment hit a record $83 billion in 2024, driven by companies diversifying away from China, boosting exports, filling China's gap. As Chinese goods faces United States tariffs, India exporters can fill the gap in the market like textiles, pharmaceuticals, and even IT services. For instance, India's pharmaceutical industry, a global leader in generics, is gaining United States market share. Then US market access, again an important variable. The United States has paused tariffs on India for 90 days, announced in 2025, giving India exporters a temporary edge. Then when we talk about technology and manufacturing, semiconductors, again India's $10 billion US dollars semiconductor push aligns with US efforts to reduce the reliance on Chinese tech. Companies like Micron are setting up chip plants in India. Then again, certainly our Make in India. India's production linked incentive PLI schemes encourage manufacturing in sectors like electronics, EVs, attracting firms from both the United States and China. And then we talk about the geopolitical leverage as an important variable. It's a balancing powers. India maintains trade ties with China while deepening defense and tech cooperation with the United States. For example, India bought United States drone in 2017 and is again negotiating for more deals. Then multilateral role, when we see India advocates for WTO reforms to protect its interests in rule-based trade order, ensuring it is not sidelined in U.S. China disputes. Then what are the challenges for India? While India benefits the trade war, also poses risk like trade deficit with China, which is very important. India's trade with China is imbalanced with imports of $100 billion, far exceeding exports to $17 billion in 2023 to 2024, creating an $85 billion trade deficit. Now, Chinese goods like EV, batteries, and steel dominate Indian markets, threatening local industries. So if China redirects surplus goods to India due to United States tariffs, it could hurt Indian producers. Then US tariff threats is again one of a challenge which we cannot really ignore. The US views India as a competitor in pharmaceuticals and services. So in 2019, India lost its generalized system of preferences GSP status, affecting $5.7 billion in exports. New tariffs could target these sectors again. Then Trump's America's First policy may pressure India to open its markets further, potentially clashing with India's protectionist Make in India goals. Then supply chain disruption can again be certain challenge. Since India's reliance on Chinese components for industries like EVs and electronics, US tariffs on Chinese goods could raise cost or even cause maybe shortages, delaying the production. So when we try to understand the global market volatility, like 15% drop in Brent crude prices in April 2025 affects India's energy imports and inflation. Geopolitical tensions, India's border disputes with China, example the 2020 Ladakh clash, complicate trade relations campaign like those by the Confederation of All India Traders CAI